Hi everyone, and welcome to our session today on what are your values? For those of you guys that are tuning into one of my webinars for the first time, hello, I'm Chloe from 3C's Philosophy, and my dream is to give you guys the tools and techniques to build yourself a happier, healthier, and more positive life. So, what's my story? Well, I've always been very driven, and I always thought I knew what my vision was, but about a year ago, someone asked me the question, what are your values? And my mind went completely blank. I realized I didn't really know much about myself. I could tell people my story, but if people asked me what my values were, what my purpose was in life, what was important to me, I had no idea. Self-discovery is an incredible journey that I want to take you on so that you can find yourself, remember who you are, remember your achievements, and most importantly, remember your worth. So let's get started. What are values? So values are things that are prized, they're cherished. Now your values are the foundation of your beliefs and they underpin the way you live your life. So most people will have sort of an idea of something they value, but really it's important to get into the detail and realize what it is that you value underneath. So for example, people might say that it's important to them if they can walk their dog. Now actually walking your dog isn't a value, but it's what you get out of that you value. So for example, it might be enjoyment that you'll get from walking your dog, and so therefore that is the value. And so what we're going to do today is just really dig into that and go through a few steps that will help you discover your values. I'm going to run you through 3 steps that are proven to help you establish your values and really get into the detail of what your core values are. And by the end of this exercise, and by the end of the 3 steps, you'll walk away with your 5 core values. And you'll start to see them in all areas of your life. So you'll start to realize how they are ingrained in your life and how they underpin everything that you do. Step 1, brainstorm your values. So what I'd like you to do is ask yourself the question, what's important to me in life? And on a blank piece of paper, write down anything and everything. So there's no minimum, there's no maximum. Feel free to pause this webinar so that you can answer this in your own time and take as long as you need. Once you've got a long list of things written down on that piece of paper of things that are important to you in life, what I'd like you to do is read over them and really challenge them. So is it something that you do or have? So for example, what's important to you in life? It might be spending time with your friends. That can be important to you in your life, but why? Because it's very rare that something we do or have is a value. So if you have something which is a do or a have, like walking your dog or spending time with your friends, ask yourself, what does that give me? What do you get from doing that activity? What do you get from having that object? Because that will help you really establish the value underneath. So now I'd like you to just run through your nice long list. Ask yourself, what does that give me? And write a list of all of the values that you found. So there's just a few examples for you there, just to start thinking about what may be your values. Feel free to pause this webinar so that you can answer this in your own time and take as long as you need. Okay, so step number 2, group your values. So now it's time to narrow down your list. So what we're going to try and do is get you to a top 5 by grouping and combining similar words. So, for example, if I had a long list of values and I had integrity, honesty, trust, loyalty, they could all be grouped together because they're all very, very similar and they all sort of deliver the same message. So what I would do is I'd put them all on the same line and I would split them up by slashes. Now, the most important one needs to be at the front. So the value of all of those that are very, very similar and you've grouped together, the one that you feel is the most important to you, put it up the front. Now, I'd like you to make a note of your top 5 groupings on a piece of paper. So your top 5 lines, your top 5 groups. Now at this stage, you will have 5 groups, so you know somewhere in there are your core 5 values. So let's work out what they are and let's prioritize them. So firstly, you've got your 5 groupings. Now, we don't want groupings, we want values. So what I'd like you to do is just remove anything after the first one on each line. So you put the most important value at the front of that line. So for example, out of integrity, honesty, trust, and loyalty, I put integrity first. So I would cross out honesty, trust, and loyalty. So I'd remove them completely from the list. So now I've gone from having 5 groupings into 5 values. So I now know what my 5 core values are. But what I want to know is what order do they go in? What is the most important thing to me? I'd like you to do an initial assessment just through thinking about yourself. And I want you to make a note of your 5 values in the order that you feel makes the most sense. So look at your 5 values and order them, rank them. And what I want you to do, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I want you to write A, B, C, D, and E. So now that you've done that, that's what you feel should be the order of priority in terms of your values. And now we're going to test it. So what I'd like you to do, ask yourself the question. If I had to choose between having A and not having B, or having B and not having A for the rest of my life, which would it be? So for example, if my initial top 5 values were happiness, integrity, gratitude, selflessness, and intelligence, I would be asking myself the question, if I had to choose between having happiness and not having integrity, or having integrity and not having happiness for the rest of my life, which would it be? Now, it's a really tough decision because we know there are top 5 values, so we know they're all important to us, but it really is about what could we not live without? So in that situation, I would choose integrity because to me, personally, I would rather live without happiness than live without integrity. So what I would do in the table on the screen, I would input integrity as the winner into the boxes where A and B are competing. Okay, so I'd like you to have a go at that. So ask yourselves the question and make a note where A and B are competing in the yellow boxes of which one wins. Now, do it again, but with A and C. So for my example, if I had to choose between having happiness and not having gratitude, or having gratitude and not having happiness for the rest of my life, which would it be? Now, in that situation, I would choose happiness because personally, happiness is more important for me. So, where A and C are competing in the table, I would write happiness in both of them because happiness won that. So hopefully you're sort of getting an idea of what we're doing here. So what I'd like you to do is ask yourselves the questions and complete the table. Now that might take you some time, so please feel free to take all the time you need and rejoin us when you're ready. So now you should have a completed table, like the one you can see on the screen here. So what I would like you to do now is look at each column, and I'd like you to add up each time that value has 1. So if we look at my table, value A was happiness. So in column A, I'm going to look down and I'm going to count how many times happiness won. So looking down at this table, happiness is written there 3 times. So the total wins are 3. Then do the same with B. So the value of B to me was integrity. And so I'm going to look down and count how many times integrity was written in that column. And it's won all 4 times. So it's going to say number 4. And so on. So you'll see at the bottom of the table, I now have a row that says total wins, and I've written in there the wins of each value. Now what this shows us is the priority, because this shows us the results. When all of those values are competing with each other, which ones come out the strongest? And that is your ranking for your final prioritized top 5 values. So in my situation, integrity won the most. It won 4 wins. So integrity is my number 1 core value. Happiness came second with 3 wins. Gratitude with 2 wins. Selflessness with 1 win. And intelligence with 0 wins. So there are my 5 core values. So I'd like you guys to do exactly that. Look at your completed table and complete the total wins row. Using those answers, I'd like you to fill in your top prioritized 5 values. Now you should have your core 5 values. And that brings us to the end of the session. I really hope you've all found this useful and beneficial in your wellbeing journey. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I have.